The Young and the Restless spoilers shock next week, October 27th to 31st, 2025. As the week draws to a tense and emotionally charged close in Genoa City and Los Angeles, the tangled web of lies, love, and ambition that connects Sally, Audra, Kyle, and Sienna tightens in ways that none of them could have predicted. Sally Spectra, ever the survivor and strategist, senses that the walls are closing in on several people she has learned to read all too well. Her instincts tell her that there's a storm brewing, one that could destroy reputations, relationships, and entire family empires if the truth ever surfaces. But Sally also knows an opportunity when she sees one, and this one feels like a rare chance to shift her own narrative in a city that never truly forgave her for her mistakes. By aligning herself with Audra Charles and Kyle Abbott, two people who are as hungry for redemption as they are for power, Sally sees the potential to control the chaos instead of becoming its victim. Audra, for her part, is torn between loyalty and strategy. Once a cunning manipulator, she's been forced to confront the consequences of her choices as her alliance with Tucker McCall crumbles. She's desperate for a win, something that will remind people that she's still a player in Genoa City's high-stakes world of business and betrayal. Sally approaches her not out of sentiment but out of calculation, knowing that Audra's access to the darker corners of Newman and Abbott family politics makes her a necessary ally. Together, they fix their sights on a target that connects everything, Sienna Bacall. Sienna, with her sharp intellect and seductive confidence, has been moving like a shadow through both the Los Angeles and Genoa City circles, entangling Holden Novak and Noah Newman in her orbit. She's a woman who hides her truths behind charm and silence, and that makes her dangerous. Meanwhile, Kyle Abbott's involvement in this scheme isn't entirely voluntary. He tells himself he's doing it for Claire Newman, but everyone who knows him can see that his motives are far more complicated. Since arriving in Los Angeles under the pretense of visiting a potential Jabot partner, Kyle has been quietly following Claire, partly out of concern, partly out of jealousy. Her growing closeness to Holden Novak, a man with a mysterious past and unclear loyalties, unsettles him deeply. Holden represents everything Kyle isn't: unpredictable, passionate, and seemingly free from the burden of family expectation. When Kyle sees the way Claire's eyes soften around Holden, he feels the sting of something that feels dangerously close to defeat. But Kyle Abbott was raised in a world where love and power are currencies that can always be traded, and he's not about to lose what he believes is his without a fight. So when Sally and Audra present him with a plan to get closer to Sienna Bacall, the woman who could expose Holden's entire game, Kyle doesn't hesitate for long. In Los Angeles, the air itself seems to thrum with tension when Kyle finally crosses paths with Sienna. He finds her in a place that feels oddly fitting, a chic rooftop bar overlooking the shimmering city lights, where secrets often change hands faster than cocktails. Sienna greets him with the kind of half-smile that hides both amusement and warning. She knows exactly who Kyle is and what he's capable of. She also knows why he's here. When he begins to ask subtle questions about Holden, about his past business deals, about any strange connections she might have noticed, she doesn't flinch. Instead, she leans back, her tone smooth as silk, and turns the conversation on him. She asks if Kyle is truly concerned for Claire or if this is just about humiliating Holden, the man who managed to win her attention where Kyle could not. The question lands like a dart, and for a moment, Kyle's facade cracks. His jaw tightens, his voice lowers, and he insists that this isn't about jealousy but about protection. But the truth, as Sienna can tell, is far murkier. Sally and Audra, monitoring from the sidelines through their own contacts, begin to realize that Sienna is more than just an informant or an obstacle, she's a player. There's something about her calmness that feels rehearsed, as if she's already calculated every possible move Kyle could make. The more he tries to corner her with polite interrogation, the more she seems to enjoy toying with him. When she hints that Holden isn't the only man with secrets, Kyle senses that she's dangling something just out of reach, something involving Noah Newman. The mention of Noah changes everything. Kyle straightens in his seat, masking the flicker of curiosity behind another practiced smirk, but internally, his mind races. If Noah is tied to Sienna, that means this web extends far deeper than Claire's love life. It means the Newmans themselves might be in danger, or at least at risk of a public scandal that could shake both their family name and their business empire. But Sienna isn't an open book. She's protecting something, or someone, and Kyle can't tell if it's out of fear or strategy. He watches her eyes as she talks, the brief glint of hesitation when he mentions Noah's name, the quick redirection of topics when he tries to press for details. He knows manipulation when he sees it. After all, he grew up in a family that turned emotional chess into an art form, but this feels different. Sienna's not playing to win power or money, she's playing to survive something much larger. And that realization unsettles him in ways he didn't expect. Back in Genoa City, Sally and Audra start piecing together fragments of what they've learned from Kyle's encounter. The puzzle doesn't make sense yet, but it points toward a bigger revelation, that Sienna may not be acting alone. Someone has been feeding her information, guiding her movements, and possibly using her as a pawn in a larger game involving both Holden and Noah. Sally begins to suspect that the entire Los Angeles setup, Claire's sudden connection with Holden, Kyle's impulsive trip, Sienna's evasiveness, isn't coincidence at all. It's orchestrated. And if that's true, then someone is pulling the strings from the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The tension grows heavier as Kyle becomes more obsessed with uncovering the truth. He starts shadowing Sienna more closely, catching glimpses of her meeting with people he doesn't recognize. One of them, he swears, looked like an old Newman associate. His thoughts spiral between suspicion and guilt. Every time he looks at Claire, he feels the weight of what he's doing behind her back, but he convinces himself that it's for her own good. Meanwhile, Audra begins to worry that Kyle's emotions are clouding his judgment. She knows what it's like to lose control when personal feelings mix with business strategy, and she doesn't want to watch another alliance crumble because of misplaced passion. Sally, ever pragmatic, tries to keep the group focused on the larger goal, finding the truth about Sienna's connection to Holden and Noah before the wrong person exposes it. But as Friday's cliffhanger looms, nothing is clear anymore. Sienna starts to show signs that she's aware of being watched. She changes her routines, cancels meetings, and suddenly books a flight destination undisclosed. Kyle, desperate, confronts her one last time at the airport, demanding to know what she's hiding. The scene is electric with tension, two people caught between truth and deception. Sienna looks at him with a mixture of pity and defiance. She tells him that some truths aren't meant to be uncovered, that once he opens the door he's so desperate to force, he won't be able to close it again. Her words hang in the air like smoke, leaving Kyle speechless for the first time in a long while. When she finally walks away, disappearing into the terminal crowd, she leaves behind more questions than answers, and a sense of dread that something much bigger is coming. In the aftermath, Sally receives a message from one of her contacts in Los Angeles, a photo of Sienna with Holden and Noah taken weeks before Kyle even arrived. They weren't rivals, they were partners. Whatever this scandal is, it's been in motion for far longer than anyone realized. Sally shows the picture to Audra, and the two exchange a look that says everything. This isn't about love or jealousy anymore. It's about control, leverage, and survival. If the truth about Sienna, Holden, and Noah comes out, it could destroy the Newmans and ripple through Genoa City's entire hierarchy. But if they can control the narrative first, it might just save them all, or ruin them beyond repair. As night falls over Genoa City, Kyle returns home, his mind haunted by Sienna's warning. Claire's voicemail flashes on his phone, her voice soft and worried, asking if he's all right and when he's coming back. He doesn't answer. Instead, he stares out at the dark skyline, wondering if he's been protecting Claire from danger or delivering her straight into it. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Sienna sits alone in a quiet hotel room, a burner phone in her hand. She dials a number, waits for a moment, then says softly, "It's done." He's taken the bait. The voice on the other end is calm, measured, familiar, but unheard by the audience. The only thing clear is that this story is far from over. And as the screen fades to black, The Friday cliffhanger lands its final blow, not with a bang, but with a quiet, calculated promise of chaos yet to come. In Genoa City, alliances are shifting again, and this time it's the kind of shift that no one sees coming until it's too late. Beneath the polished surface of business partnerships and casual alliances lies a simmering undercurrent of suspicion, lust, and ambition that threatens to pull everyone into a vortex of deception. Phyllis Summers, who has spent much of her life walking the fine line between brilliance and destruction, finds herself entangled in yet another dangerous dance, this time with Kane Ashby, a man whose charm hides a minefield of trust issues and unresolved resentment. The two have begun working together in what many would call an unlikely partnership, combining Phyllis's technological prowess with Kane's strategic business instincts. On paper, it seems like the perfect collaboration, a bold move to establish a new digital empire in the wake of the AI race sweeping Genoa City's tech scene. But underneath that polished exterior lies a secret neither of them can completely ignore. Kane still suspects that Phyllis stole his AI program. The tension between them is palpable, a slow-burning flame that threatens to consume them both. On the October 23 episode, that tension finally erupts into something raw and dangerous. The confrontation begins professionally enough, a disagreement over code integrity, system access, and data breaches, but as tempers rise, so do buried emotions. Kane's accusations hit Phyllis like a blade disguised as a question. He demands to know why certain lines of his proprietary algorithm appear in her new demo. She fires back with wounded indignation, insisting that she built her system from scratch and that his paranoia is blinding him. Yet in the quiet moments between their words, both of them know that there's more than business at play. The spark between them, an electric, irresistible pull, complicates everything. It's a familiar pattern for Phyllis, attraction and danger converging in the same man, the same scenario, over and over again. The irony is that even as Kane accuses her, he can't stay away. There's something about Phyllis. Her fire, her defiance, the way she refuses to bow to anyone, that captivates him. She embodies everything he's been trying to suppress since losing control of his career and reputation. For Phyllis, Kane is both a challenge and a risk. He's unpredictable, occasionally reckless, but there's a sincerity in his eyes that disarms her, reminding her of a time when she believed in love without strategy. As they argue, the boundary between anger and desire blurs. They're no longer simply partners or rivals, they're two lonely, wounded souls who recognize themselves in each other's chaos. When the shouting fades, what's left is silence, heavy and loaded with the possibility of something neither of them is prepared to name. Rumors across Genoa City begin to swirl almost immediately. Employees whisper about late-night meetings and unexplained chemistry between the two. By the time the October cliffhanger arrives, it's no longer just about business, it's about what happens when suspicion turns into temptation. Inside the sleek glass walls of their shared office, the glow of computer screens becomes the only witness to their growing connection. Kane still tells himself that he's keeping Phyllis close to monitor her, to catch her in a lie, but deep down, he's losing that control. Every time he looks at her, he sees the dangerous mix of intelligence and seduction that has undone many men before him. For her part, Phyllis tries to maintain focus, but the guilt gnaws at her. Did she really cross that ethical line? Did she borrow pieces of his code in a desperate bid to save her project, believing he'd never notice? Or is she simply trapped by his paranoia, paying the price for his inability to trust anyone again? The writers of The Young and the Restless know how to turn moral gray areas into dramatic gold, and this is no exception. Phyllis and Kane's storyline isn't just about business rivalry, it's about two people whose flaws mirror each other. Both are driven, defensive, and haunted by betrayal. Both crave validation as much as they crave power. And both are walking into a situation that could destroy them emotionally and professionally if they're not careful. The possibility of romance looms large, hinted at in stolen glances and unresolved tension. But even if passion ignites, it's the kind that burns everything in its path. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, another storm is brewing, and Sally Spectra is right in the middle of it. Sally has never been one to sit on the sidelines when she senses injustice or an opportunity to prove herself. In recent weeks, her loyalty has been tested in ways that reveal the full spectrum of her character. Her growing friendship with Audra Charles has raised eyebrows, particularly among those who remember how volatile Audra can be when cornered. But Sally, perhaps recognizing a version of her younger self in Audra, chooses not to abandon her. Instead, she takes a risk that could either elevate her reputation or destroy it completely. She decides to stand up for Audra publicly. Audra's career at Abbott Communications has been hanging by a thread ever since her involvement in several questionable deals came to light. The rumors have been brutal, whispers of manipulation, insider leaks, and a brewing feud with executives who want her gone. Sally, despite her own precarious standing in Genoa City's professional circles, steps into the fire to defend her. She argues that Audra deserves another chance, that people like Jill Abbott and Billy Abbott should look beyond her mistakes and see her potential. It's a bold move, one that shocks everyone from the boardroom to the media outlets that thrive on scandal. But for Sally, it's personal. She knows what it's like to be labeled, to be dismissed as reckless or untrustworthy, and she refuses to let another woman be destroyed for daring to fight in a world that constantly demands perfection. Her decision, however, is not without consequences. Aligning herself with Audra puts her at odds with several key players who see this as a betrayal of corporate loyalty. Jill Abbott, ever the pragmatic leader, listens but remains skeptical. She appreciates Sally's passion but worries that emotion is clouding her judgment. Billy Abbott, caught between admiration and concern, privately warns Sally that defending Audra could make her the next target. But Sally's mind is made up. If she can convince Jill to keep Audra on board, it could mark a turning point, not just for Audra's career but for Sally's own redemption arc. Behind the scenes, though, everyone knows that Genoa City doesn't forgive easily. Every act of loyalty comes with a price, and every alliance hides a hidden agenda. As Sally pleads Audra's case, whispers emerge suggesting that her motives may not be as pure as they seem. Some speculate that Sally's defense of Audra is strategic, that she's hoping to position herself as the moral compass of Abbott Communications, a move that could restore her public image. Others, however, see something more human in her actions, compassion. Perhaps Sally truly believes in second chances because she's spent her life begging for one herself. While Sally fights her corporate battle, the ripple effects of Phyllis and Kane's uneasy alliance start spreading. Billy catches wind of their collaboration and immediately senses trouble. He knows Phyllis well enough to recognize that wherever she goes, chaos tends to follow. The possibility of her and Kane mixing business with pleasure only adds fuel to the gossip fires. Jill, too, grows concerned about how these overlapping relationships could destabilize her empire. In her mind, every personal entanglement is a potential liability. The more these players mix emotion with ambition, the greater the chance that someone will lose everything. As the week draws to its cliffhanger, the show's pacing accelerates, pulling viewers into a whirlwind of speculation and dread. Will Kane uncover proof that Phyllis stole his AI program? If he does, will he expose her, or will he be too emotionally entangled to follow through? And what happens if their simmering attraction boils over into something undeniable? For all her brilliance, Phyllis has a habit of self-sabotage when love gets in the way of logic, and this could be her most dangerous mistake yet. At the same time, Sally's gamble could redefine her place in Genoa City. If she wins Jill and Billy over, she could cement herself as a new power player, a woman who rose from scandal to influence. But if she fails, she risks losing not just her credibility but the fragile trust she's fought so hard to rebuild. The final moments of the episode promise to leave viewers breathless. Phyllis sits alone in her office after hours, the city lights reflecting off her computer screen. She opens a file she shouldn't have, one that contains fragments of Kane's original code. Her hand hovers over the delete key, torn between guilt and self-preservation. Meanwhile, across town, Kane stares at a printed report from his IT department that confirms his worst suspicion. The algorithm signature in Phyllis's system matches his own. The screen cuts between them, the silence heavy, the tension unbearable. Both know that the truth will eventually surface, and when it does, one of them will fall. As credits roll, The Young and the Restless leaves fans with the questions that define every great soap opera. Is love ever enough to overcome betrayal? Can ambition coexist with integrity? And what happens when the people who should destroy each other instead find themselves drawn closer than ever before? In Genoa City, answers never come easy, and that's exactly why viewers can't look away.